Hello, friend. The darkness is changing now. Not gone, but different. Thinner, like the night is finally starting to let go. I've been awake all night, sitting here with these memories, with this weight that I carry every day, thinking about Sarah, about what she was, about what she is now, about what happens when those two things are so far apart they don't even seem like the same person. I've been thinking about endings, about how we prepare for them, how we face them, how we find peace with them. But before I tell you what I've learned about that, before I tell you how I found any kind of peace in this impossible situation, I need to tell you about a conversation Sarah and I had years before the Alzheimer's, when we were just a normal couple getting older, talking about death the way couples do. Sarah and I used to talk about death sometimes, not in a morbid way, just in that practical way couples do when they're getting older, when friends start dying, when you realize you're closer to the end than the beginning. She'd say things like, "When I die, don't spend a fortune on the funeral," or "Make sure you sell the house and move somewhere smaller," or "Promise me you'll find someone else. Don't be alone." Normal end-of-life planning conversations, things every couple should talk about. But we never talked about this. Never talked about what happens if one of us loses their mind before their body. Never talked about dementia or Alzheimer's or what we'd want if we couldn't make our own decisions anymore. We should have. God, we should have. But we didn't, because like most people, we thought we had time, thought we'd figure it out later, thought it wouldn't happen to us. And then it did. And I had to make all the decisions alone, move her to a facility, authorize medications, sign DNR orders, choose what kind of care she'd receive when she reached the end. All alone, without her input, without her guidance, without knowing if I was doing what she would have wanted. That's been one of the hardest parts, not knowing if I'm honoring her wishes because I never knew what her wishes were. I made the best guesses I could, tried to think about what she valued, what she would have chosen, what kind of end she would have wanted. But I'll never know if I got it right. Never know if she would have wanted to be in a facility or if she would have preferred to stay home even if it wasn't safe. Never know if she would have wanted aggressive intervention when her time comes or if she would have wanted to just slip away peacefully. I'm making these decisions for someone who can't speak for herself and carrying the weight of not knowing if I'm doing right by her. Stop for a second. If you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia right now, I need you to hear this. Have that conversation while you still can. Ask them what they want, where they want to be, what kind of care, what kind of end. Write it down. Make it legal. Tell your family. Because if you don't, you'll be where I am, making impossible decisions alone, wondering if you're honoring them or betraying them, and that weight is almost unbearable. Don't make the same mistake we made. Have the conversation, even if it's hard, even if it feels too soon. Have it, because someday it will be too late, and you'll be sitting where I'm sitting, making decisions in the dark, hoping you're doing the right thing, but never knowing for sure. I think about the conversations we should have had, all the time. I think about sitting Sarah down when she was still herself, still capable of making these decisions, still able to tell me what she wanted, and asking her, really asking her. Not just the surface questions, but the hard ones. If you can't recognize anyone anymore, do you want to be kept alive? If you can't feed yourself, do you want a feeding tube If your heart stops, do you want us to bring you back? If you're in pain but can't communicate it, how aggressive should we be with treatment? These aren't pleasant questions. They're terrible questions. Questions nobody wants to ask or answer. But they're necessary questions, and we didn't ask them. So now I'm left guessing. I'm making my best estimation of what Sarah would want based on who she was, what she valued, how she lived, but it's just a guess, an educated guess maybe, but a guess nonetheless. And I live with the fear that I'm getting it wrong, that I'm making decisions she would hate, that I'm keeping her alive in a state she never would have wanted, or that I'm not fighting hard enough, not doing enough, not honoring her life properly. It's a terrible weight, and it's entirely preventable. So please have the conversation. The lamp on my desk has been burning all night, like it always does, steady, faithful, doing what it was made to do. Sarah bought this lamp. I've mentioned that before, probably more than once. I tend to circle back to certain things in these long nights. Found it at an estate sale, polished it up, made it beautiful. She had a gift for that, taking broken things and making them whole again. Old furniture, thrift store clothes, damaged people. She did it with me. Yeah, I was a mess when we met. 23 years old, directionless, drinking too much, angry at the world. And she saw something in me, something I didn't see in myself. She believed I could be better, and somehow her believing it made it possible. I stopped drinking, got serious about work, became the kind of man worth building a life with. Not because I was strong, but because she believed I could be. That's who she was. A person who saw potential in broken things, who believed in restoration, who had the patience to polish brass until it shone. And now she's the broken thing, and I can't fix her, can't restore her, can't make her whole again. No amount of patience or love or faithfulness will bring her back. And that's the hardest truth I've ever had to accept, that some things can't be fixed. Some losses can't be recovered. Some people, once they're gone, are just gone. Even if they're still breathing, even if their heart is still beating, even if they're physically present, they're gone. The person they were is gone. And no amount of love or hope or prayer or medical intervention will bring them back. That's Sarah. The Sarah who polished brass and saw potential in broken things and believed I could be better. That Sarah is gone. And the Sarah who remains doesn't know who I am, doesn't know who she is, doesn't know anything beyond the immediate moment she's in. And I have to live with both of those truths, the truth that she's gone and the truth that she's still here, simultaneously. It's a strange kind of grief, grief without closure, grief without end, grief that exists alongside the continued physical presence of the person you're grieving. I read something once about this kind of loss. They call it ambiguous loss, loss that's unclear, loss that doesn't have a definite ending, loss where the person is physically present but psychologically absent, or sometimes physically absent but psychologically present. Like when someone goes missing and you don't know if they're alive or dead. But in Sarah's case, it's the first kind. She's here, but she's not here, present but absent, alive but gone. And my brain doesn't know how to process that, doesn't know whether to grieve or hope, whether to hold on or let go, whether I'm a caregiver or a widower or something in between that doesn't have a name. The article I read said that ambiguous loss is one of the most difficult types of grief to navigate because there are no rituals for it, no funeral to attend, no burial to witness, no clear moment where you can say, "It's over now, she's gone. I can start the process of moving on." Instead, it's this endless middle state, this limbo, where you're grieving someone who's still alive, where you're saying goodbye every day but never actually getting to say goodbye, where you're losing them in slow motion over years instead of all at once, and there's no social support for that kind of grief. People don't know what to say, don't know how to help, don't know whether to treat you like a caregiver or like someone who's lost their spouse, so mostly they just don't say anything. They stop asking how you're doing, stop inviting you to things, stop acknowledging that you're going through something impossibly hard, and you become invisible, forgotten, alone in your grief in a way that's different from the loneliness of widowhood, but just as isolating, maybe more isolating, because at least widows have a community, other widows who understand, support groups, books, resources. But what do you call yourself when you're married to someone who doesn't know you're married to them? When you wear a wedding ring but sleep alone? When you're legally bound to someone who's mentally untethered? There's no word for it, no category, no box to check. You're just in between, neither married nor single, neither caregiver nor spouse, neither grieving nor not grieving, just existing in this strange space that nobody talks about and nobody understands unless they've been there. And even then, everyone's experience is different. Some people's loved ones decline quickly, others slowly. Some maintain flashes of recognition for years. Others forget immediately. Some are pleasant in their confusion. Others become angry, combative, afraid. There's no standard progression, no predictable timeline, no way to know what your journey will look like until you're in it. All you know is that it's hard, impossibly hard, and that you're doing it anyway because what other choice do you have? But here's what I'm learning, and this took me years, years of anger, years of grief, years of visiting someone who doesn't know I'm visiting. Here's what I'm learning. Love isn't just the good parts. It's not just the 52 years of knowing each other, the inside jokes, the shared dreams, the partnership, the intimacy, the companionship. Love is also this. Yet the showing up when there's no reward, the faithfulness when there's no recognition, the keeping of vows when the person you made them with doesn't remember making them. That's love too. Maybe that's the truest love. The love that costs everything and gives nothing back. The love that keeps burning even when no one sees it. The love that just is. Because that's what it does. Because there's no other choice. Because you made a promise. And you're keeping it. Even when it's harder than you ever imagined. Even when it breaks you. Even when you want to run away. You keep the promise. Not because you're a saint. Not because you're strong. But because that's what love does. It endures. It remains. It keeps showing up. There was a moment last month I need to tell you about this. Because it's important. Because it's one of the few moments in the last 3 years that felt like something. I was visiting Sarah. Tuesday afternoon. Same as always. She was sitting in her chair by the window, staring at nothing. I sat down next to her, took her hand. She didn't pull away. That was good. Sometimes she pulls away. Sometimes my touch seems to frighten her, or confuse her, or irritate her in some way I don't understand. But this time she didn't pull away. I started talking, like I always do, telling her about my week, about the weather, about our grandson's baseball game, about the birds I saw in the backyard that morning. Small talk, meaningless talk, the kind of talk you make with someone who isn't really listening. She wasn't looking at me, just staring out the window, or staring at nothing. I can never tell which. But then, very slowly, she turned her head, looked at me, really looked at me. And for just a second, I saw something. A flicker, a spark, something that looked almost like recognition. Her eyes focused. Her expression changed. Something shifted. Her mouth moved like she was trying to say something. I leaned closer, held my breath, waited. And she said, very quietly, "I know you." 3 words, "I know you." My heart stopped. I said, yes, you do. I'm Robert. I'm your husband." She kept looking at me, and I thought maybe this was it. Maybe this was the breakthrough. Maybe she was coming back. Maybe the fog was lifting. Maybe I was getting her back, even for a moment, even for a few minutes. I was getting her back. But then she looked away, back to the window. And when I asked if she knew who I was, there was nothing. The moment was gone. The light went out, and she was back in the fog. I sat there for another hour, talking to her, holding her hand. But there was no response, no recognition, no flicker, just the blank stare at the window. When I left, I asked the nurse about it. Was that real? Did she actually recognize me? Does that mean something? The nurse gave me a sympathetic smile, and the kind of smile people give you when they're about to tell you something you don't want to hear, but they're trying to be gentle about it. She said sometimes there are flickers, brief moments of clarity, but they don't mean anything. It's not her coming back. It's not the disease reversing. It's just neurons firing randomly, a trick of a deteriorating brain, a momentary connection that looks like recognition but isn't really recognition. Like when you think you see someone you know in a crowd and you wave, but then you realize it's not them. It's a stranger who just happens to look similar. Your brain made a connection that wasn't really there. That's what this was, she said. Don't read too much into it, she said. Don't let yourself hope, she said, because hope just makes it harder. But how can I not read into it? How can I not hold on to those 3 words like they're the most precious thing I've ever heard? I know you, even if it wasn't real, even if it was just random firing, even if she didn't actually know me. She said it. And for 1 second, I felt seen again. For 1 second, I wasn't invisible. For 1 second, I was her husband again, and she was my wife, and we knew each other. And I can't let that go. I know I should. I know the nurse is right. I know hoping just makes it harder. But I can't help it. I'm holding on to those 3 words. I know you. And I'm choosing to believe they meant something. That somewhere, deep in whatever's left of her mind, she knows me. Maybe not consciously, maybe not in a way she could articulate, but somewhere, somehow, she knows. Maybe that's delusional. Maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see, hearing what I want to hear, creating meaning where there is none. But I don't care. I'm choosing delusion. I'm choosing to believe, because without that belief, I don't know how to keep going. Can I tell you something? Something I haven't told anyone. Something I'm ashamed of. I don't know if my visits help Sarah. I don't know if she experiences them in any meaningful way. If my presence brings her comfort, or if it's just more stimulation in a world that's already too confusing. I like to think it helps. Like to think that on some level, Even if she doesn't know who I am, she knows someone is there. Someone is showing up. Someone cares. That maybe even if she can't remember my name or my face or our history, she can feel that she's not alone. That someone is with her. But I don't really know. I have no way of knowing. No way to get inside her mind and understand what, if anything, she's experiencing. What I do know is that the visits help me. They give me structure, purpose, a way to still be her husband even though she's not my wife anymore in any traditional sense. I'm performing marriage, going through the motions, showing up, being faithful, being present, even though there's no reciprocation, no acknowledgement, no reward, even though every visit is the same. Sit with her, hold her hand, talk to her, get no response, leave over and over, week after week, year after year. And maybe that's selfish. Maybe I'm doing this for me, not for her. Maybe I'm visiting her not because it helps her, but because I need to feel like I'm still doing something, still fulfilling my role, still being the husband. Because if I stop visiting, what am I? What's my identity if I'm not her husband anymore? What's my purpose if I'm not caring for her? Who am I if I'm not showing up? I don't know. And I'm not ready to find out. So I keep going every Tuesday and Thursday, like clockwork. Whether it helps her or not, whether she knows I'm there or not, I go. Because I need to. And maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay to do something that benefits you, even if you're telling yourself you're doing it for someone else. Maybe the motives don't have to be pure. Maybe they just have to be honest. And honestly, I visit Sarah because I need to. Because it's the only way I know how to still be connected to her. Still be in relationship with her, even if it's a one-sided relationship. Still be her husband. And maybe that's enough. My pastor would say that's Christ-like love. Sacrificial, unearned, given freely without expectation of return. Love that looks like Jesus washing the disciples' feet, serving people who don't understand what he's doing, who might betray him, who might deny him, who might abandon him, but serving them anyway, loving them anyway, being present with them anyway, not because they deserve it, not because they reciprocate, but because that's what love does. And maybe he's right. Maybe this is teaching me something about love I never would have learned otherwise. Something about the nature of love that goes beyond reciprocity, beyond transaction, beyond getting something in return. Love that just gives and gives and gives without keeping score, without expecting anything back, without needing to be acknowledged or appreciated or even recognized, just love, pure love. The kind of love that reflects something divine, something bigger than human relationship, something that points to how God loves us constantly, faithfully, without condition, even when we don't recognize him, even when we forget him, even when we turn away, he's still there, still loving, still present. Maybe that's what I'm learning. Maybe Sarah's Alzheimer's is teaching me about God's love in a way nothing else could. But honestly, I'd rather have Sarah back. I'd rather have the easy love, the mutual love, the love where both people know they're loved. This hard love is killing me. Slowly, but killing me nonetheless. I'm tired. So tired. Tired of visiting someone who doesn't know I'm visiting. Tired of going home alone to an empty house. Tired of this endless waiting for an end that might not come for years. Tired of being strong, of being faithful, of being good. I just want to rest. But I can't. Because she's still alive. And as long as she's still alive, I have to keep going, have to keep showing up, have to keep being her husband, even when it costs me everything, even when I have nothing left to give, even when I want to stop, I can't stop, because I made a promise. 52 years ago, I stood in front of God and our families and friends, and I promised, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, till death do us part. I said those words when I was 23 years old, young and healthy, and in love and full of dreams about our future together. I had no idea what those words might cost me. No idea that in sickness might mean this. That for worse might mean watching your spouse disappear while they're still alive. That till death might mean years of this limbo state, where they're not dead, but they're not really alive either. We don't know what we're promising when we make those vows. We can't know. We're too young, too optimistic, too in love to imagine the worst-case scenarios. And maybe that's good. Maybe if we knew what we were really promising, we'd never make the promise. But we do make the promise. And then we have to keep it, even when it's harder than we ever imagined, even when it breaks us, even when we want to run away. We keep the promise. Not because we're saints, not because we're strong, but because that's what the promise means. It means you don't get to quit when it gets hard. You don't get to leave when the person you love becomes someone you don't recognize. You don't get to walk away when the relationship stops being mutual. You stay. You remain. You keep showing up. That's what the promise means, and I'm keeping it. Even though it's killing me. Even though I'm exhausted. Even though I don't know how much longer I can do this. I'm keeping the promise. There's a bird starting to sing outside. Just one. Testing its voice in the pre-dawn dark. Soon there'll be more. Then the whole chorus. Then full daylight. It happens every morning. That progression from silence to sound to light. Reliable. Predictable. No matter how long the night. Morning always comes. And that's become my anchor. My hope. The thing I hold on to when the weight gets too heavy. Morning always comes. Not just literal morning, but metaphorical morning. The end of the long night. The end of the suffering. The end of this impossible in-between state where Sarah is alive but gone. Someday that morning will come, and I'll finally be able to grieve properly, to have a funeral, to say goodbye, to tell people she died and have them understand what that means, to close this chapter, to start figuring out what comes next. But until then, I'm in the night, the long, dark night, and all I can do is wait for morning and keep showing up, keep being faithful, keep loving her in whatever form that takes now. Keep honoring the promise I made 52 years ago, even when it costs me everything, even when I have nothing left to give, even when I'm so tired I can barely stand. I keep going, because that's what the promise means, and because somewhere, in some way I don't understand, I believe it matters. I believe showing up matters. I believe faithfulness matters. I believe love matters, even when there's no visible result. Even when there's no acknowledgement, even when it seems pointless, it matters. It has to matter. Because if it doesn't, then what am I doing? What's the point of any of this? I have to believe it matters. I've been thinking about what comes next, after Sarah dies, after this long goodbye finally ends. What comes next? I don't know. People tell me I'll rebuild, that I'll find new purpose, that life will go on. Some people even tell me I might find new love. I'm 78 years old. Sarah's 76. We've been married 52 years. I don't want new love. The thought of it feels like betrayal, like I'd be replacing her, like I'd be saying she didn't matter. I know that's not rational. I know Sarah would want me to be happy, would want me to find companionship, would want me not to be alone. She told me that once. In one of those early conversations about death and what comes after, she said, "If I die first, don't be alone. Find someone, be happy." And I said, "I could never love anyone the way I love you." And she said, "I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you not to be alone." I remember that conversation. Remember her face when she said it. The mix of love and practicality. She wasn't asking me to forget her or replace her. She was just asking me not to give up on life, not to shut down, not to spend my remaining years alone in this house, haunted by memories, waiting to die. But I don't know if I can do what she asked, or don't know if I have it in me to start over, to learn someone new, to build something new, to open my heart to someone else. I'm too old, too tired, too broken by this, and honestly, I don't want to. I don't want new love. I want Sarah. I want the life we were supposed to have, the retirement we planned, the travel, the grandchildren growing up, the quiet golden years of just being together. I want what was stolen from us, and I can't have it. So I don't know what I want instead. And maybe I don't want anything. Maybe I just want to rest, to be done, to stop carrying this weight. But I'm not done yet. Sarah's still alive, still in that facility 20 minutes from here, still breathing, still existing in whatever way she exists now. And as long as she's alive, I'm not done. I have to keep going, keep visiting, keep showing up, keep being her husband. And after she's gone, I don't know. I'll figure it out then, or I won't, but I'm not there yet. So I'm not thinking about it, can't think about it, have to focus on now, on getting through today, and tomorrow, and the day after that, one day at a time, one visit at a time, one moment at a time. That's all I can do. The nurse at the facility told me something a few months ago. We were talking about how hard this is, how exhausting, how endless. And she said something I've thought about a lot since. She said, "The person with Alzheimer's loses their past, but the caregiver loses their future." She was right. Sarah has lost everything she was, all her memories, all her knowledge, all her relationships, all her history. It's all gone, erased, like it never existed. But I've lost everything I thought we'd be, all the plans we made, all the dreams we had, all the years we were supposed to have together, the retirement we saved for, the trips we wanted to take, the time we were finally going to have just for us. All of that's gone too, stolen by this disease. And I'm left here in this strange present, not who I was, not who I thought I'd be, just someone trying to figure out how to exist in this reality I never wanted, this reality where my wife is alive but gone, where I'm married but alone, where I have a future but no idea what it looks like. It's disorienting, destabilizing, like the ground beneath my feet isn't solid anymore, like I'm floating in some kind of limbo where nothing makes sense and there are no maps and no one can tell me where I'm going or how to get there. I just have to keep moving forward, even though I don't know where forward is, even though every step feels like walking in the dark, even though I might be going in completely the wrong direction. I just keep moving, because stopping feels like giving up. And I'm not ready to give up. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But here's what I'm learning. Slowly, painfully, through years of this. Love isn't just the good parts. It's not just the 52 years of knowing each other. The inside jokes we shared, the dreams we built together, the partnership we had, the intimacy, the companionship, the way we could read each other's thoughts, the way she'd look at me across a crowded room and I'd know exactly what she was thinking, the way we'd finish each other's sentences, the way we moved through life as a unit, not just two individuals, but something larger, something more. Love isn't just that. Love is also this, the showing up when there's no reward, the faithfulness when there's no recognition, the keeping of vows when the person you made them with doesn't remember making them, the choosing to stay when leaving would be easier, the choosing to love when love is hard and costly and gives nothing back, the choosing to remain when every part of you wants to run. That's love, too. Maybe that's the truest love. The love that costs everything and gives nothing back. The love that keeps burning even when no one sees it. The love that just is. Because that's what it does. Because there's no other choice. Because you made a promise and you're keeping it. I don't know if Sarah knows I love her. Don't know if some part of her deep down feels cared for, feels safe, feels less alone. I hope so. I really hope so. But I can't know. I have no way of knowing. No way to get inside her mind and understand what, if anything, she's experiencing. All I can do is keep showing up, keep being there, keep loving her in whatever form that takes now. Not the love of romance, not the love of partnership, not the love of shared dreams and inside jokes and finishing each other's sentences, but the love of pure presence, the love that says, I'm here, even though you don't know I'm here, even though it doesn't change anything, even though it costs me everything. I'm here, and I'll keep being here until you're gone, and then I'll grieve you, really grieve you, finally grieve you, properly grieve you, and maybe then I'll be able to let you go. But I'm not there yet. You're still here, still breathing, still existing. So I'm still here too, still showing up, still loving you, still keeping the promise. There was a woman I met at the facility a few months ago. Her name was Elizabeth. Her husband had been there for 5 years. Advanced Alzheimer's. Nonverbal, didn't recognize anyone, didn't respond to anything, just sat in his wheelchair, staring at nothing. She visited him every single day for 5 years, rain or shine, sick or well, holiday or regular day, every single day. I asked her once in the hallway, how do you do it? How do you keep coming when he doesn't know you? When he doesn't respond? When it doesn't seem to make any difference? And she looked at me with this expression I'll never forget. Not sad. Exactly. Not even tired. Just settled. Like she'd made peace with something I was still fighting. And she said, he loved me when I was at my worst, when I was angry, when I was difficult, when I was unlovable. He loved me anyway. This is just my turn to love him when he can't love me back. That shifted something in me, made me see this differently, because she's right. Love isn't transactional. It's not, I love you because you love me back. It's not, I'll keep loving you as long as you keep being the person I fell in love with. It's not, I'll stay as long as you know who I am. It's just, I love you. Period. End of sentence. No conditions, no requirements, no expiration date. I love you, even when you can't reciprocate, even when you don't know I'm loving you, even when it costs me everything and gives me nothing. I love you. That's what those vows meant, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. We think we understand those words when we say them, but we don't. We can't. Not until we're living them. Not until in sickness means this. Not until for worse means this. Not until the person standing next to you at the altar, promising to love you forever, becomes someone who doesn't remember the altar or the promise or you. Then you understand. Then you know what you promised. And you have a choice. Keep the promise or break it. Stay or leave. Love or abandon. And most people, I think, try to keep the promise. Try to stay. Try to love. Even when it's impossible. Even when it breaks them. Even when they don't know how they're going to survive it. They try. Because that's what the promise means. Elizabeth is still visiting her husband every day. Even though he hasn't recognized her in 5 years. Even though he doesn't respond. Even though it doesn't seem to make any difference. She goes. And I asked her once, "Do you think he knows you're there?" And she said, "I don't know, but I know I'm there, and that's enough." I think about that a lot. That's enough. Not that he knows, not that it helps him, not that it makes a difference, but that she's there, that she's keeping the promise, that she's being faithful, and that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can do. Just show up. Just be there. Just keep loving, and trust that it matters, even when we can't see how it matters. Even when there's no visible result. Even when it feels futile. Trust that it matters. Trust that love matters. Trust that presence matters. Trust that faithfulness matters. I have to believe that. Have to hold on to that. Because without it, I don't know how to keep going. Let me tell you about the last real conversation Sarah and I had. Before the Alzheimer's took her completely. Before she stopped being able to form coherent thoughts. Before words became too hard and language became a mystery she couldn't solve. It was maybe 2 years after the diagnosis. She was having a good day. One of those increasingly rare days where she was mostly present, mostly herself, where I could see her in there, still fighting, still aware, still Sarah. We were sitting in the backyard, drinking coffee, watching the birds. It was a beautiful morning, early summer, the kind of day that makes you grateful to be alive. And we were just sitting there in comfortable silence. The kind of silence you can only have with someone you've known for decades, where you don't need to fill the space with words, where just being together is enough. And then she turned to me, and I saw it in her face before she even spoke. That look, that awareness, that moment of clarity where she knew what was happening to her, knew what was coming, knew she was losing herself, and she said, "I'm scared." Just that. 2 words, but they carried everything. All the fear she'd been holding, all the terror of what was coming, all the awareness of the slow erasure that was happening inside her mind. I'm scared. I didn't know what to say. What do you say to someone who's watching their own mind disappear? What comfort can you offer? What hope can you give? So I just held her hand, squeezed it tight, let her know I was there. And she said, "I don't want to forget you." And I said, "I know." And she said, "I don't want to forget who I am." And I said, "I know." And she said, "Promise me something." And I said, "Anything." And she said, "Promise me you won't forget me, even when I forget you. Promise me you'll remember who I was." And I promised. Of course I promised. How could I not promise? I said, I'll never forget you. I'll remember everything. I'll keep you alive in my memory even when you can't remember yourself." And she smiled, this sad, grateful smile. And she said, "Thank you." And we sat there for a while longer, just holding hands, watching the birds, being together. And I remember thinking, I need to remember this moment, this exact moment. This is important. This is one of the last times I'll have her like this. Really have her. I need to burn this into my memory. So I tried. I tried to notice everything. The way the morning light was hitting her face. The way her hand felt in mine. The sound of her breathing. The birds singing. The coffee smell. Everything. I tried to capture it all, to hold on to it, to make it permanent. But here's the thing, and this is what keeps me up at night. I'm starting to forget. Not that conversation. I remember that conversation. Probably always will. But other things. Small things. The exact sound of her laugh. The way she used to hum while she cooked. The face she made when she was concentrating. The way she'd tilt her head when she was listening to you. The way she'd wrinkle her nose when she was amused. The little details that used to be so familiar, I didn't even think about them. They're fading, becoming less sharp, less clear, and I'm terrified. Terrified that one day I'll forget who she really was. That the woman in the facility, confused and diminished and lost, will become the only version of Sarah I can clearly remember. That the 50 years before that will blur and fade until they're just vague memories, stories without substance, images without detail, feelings without context, and she'll be gone twice. Once when the disease took her mind, and again when my own aging memory lets go of who she used to be. That's the thing nobody tells you about this disease. It doesn't just steal the person you love. It threatens to steal your memories of them too. Because how do you hold on to someone who's been erased? How do you keep them vivid and real when the living version of them bears no resemblance to who they were? How do you remember someone who's still physically present but psychologically absent? Your brain gets confused. It's hard to separate the past from the present. Hard to remember her as she was when who she is now is right in front of you. Hard to hold on to the memory of her laugh when you haven't heard her laugh in 3 years. Hard to remember her voice when the only sounds she makes now are confused murmurs and occasional frightened cries. It's like trying to remember a dream. And the harder you try to hold on to it, the faster it slips away. And I'm losing her. Not just to the Alzheimer's, but to my own failing memory, my own aging brain that can't hold on to the details the way it used to. So I write things down. Little things. Things I don't want to forget. Things that capture who she really was. The way she laughed at her own jokes before she finished telling them. The way she'd put her cold feet on my legs in bed. And I'd complain, but secretly I didn't mind. The way she'd hum off key while she cooked, completely unaware she was doing it. The way she'd say my name, not just the word, but the way she'd say it, with affection, with familiarity, with 50 years of history in those 2 syllables. The way she'd touch my arm when she wanted my attention. The way she'd raise one eyebrow when she thought I was being ridiculous. The way she'd laugh until she cried at stupid things that weren't even that funny. The way she'd fall asleep on the couch during movies and then insist she was just resting her eyes. The way she'd sing in the car, making up words when she didn't know the real ones. The way she'd get passionate about small injustices, like grocery stores putting the expiration dates, where you can't see them. I write all of it down in a notebook I keep in my desk drawer. Little things, ordinary things, things you think you'll never forget because they're so much a part of someone. But you do forget. Time steals them. Grief steals them. The present version of the person steals them, replacing the memories with new ones you don't want. So I write them down, because someday, maybe soon, those notes will be the only proof I have that she was who she was. The only evidence that she existed is more than this diminished version. And I'll need them. I'll need to read them and remember, to hold on to her, to keep her alive in some form, even if it's just words on a page. If you're going through this, write things down. I'm serious. Right now. Today. Before it's too late. Write down the small things, the ordinary things, the things you think you'll never forget, the way they laugh, the phrases they use, their habits, their quirks, the things that make them. Write them down. Because time and grief and exhaustion will steal them from you if you don't. And someday, you'll want them back. You'll need them back. And if you didn't write them down, they'll be gone. Just like the person, gone twice. Don't let that happen. Write them down. The birds are singing louder now, more of them joining the chorus. The dawn song building, that reliable progression from silence to sound to light that happens every morning without fail. I love that about birds, that faithfulness, that consistency, no matter what happened during the night, no matter how dark it got, no matter how long it seemed. Morning comes, and the birds sing, announcing it, welcoming it, celebrating it, every single day, without fail. That's become important to me. That daily proof that darkness doesn't last forever. That night always ends. That light always returns. Even when you're in the middle of the darkest night you've ever experienced. Even when you can't see any hint of dawn. Even when you think morning might never come. It comes, always, without exception. And that's my hope. Not hope that Sarah will get better. That's not realistic. Not hope that this will suddenly get easier. It won't. Not hope that I'll wake up one day and she'll remember me. She won't. But hope that this night will end. That this long, dark season will eventually give way to morning. That someday, somehow, there will be light again. Not the same light. Not the life we had. But light nonetheless. Peace, rest, resolution, someday. And until then, I keep going, one day at a time, one visit at a time, one moment at a time, waiting for morning, trusting that it's coming, even when I can't see it, even when it feels impossible. Morning is coming. The window is definitely lighter now, gray light, pre-dawn. That particular quality of light that's not quite dark anymore, but not yet bright. The in-between time, the threshold, where night is letting go but day hasn't quite arrived. I've been in that threshold for 3 years now, not quite married, not quite widowed, not quite grieving, not quite moving on, just in between. And I don't know how much longer this threshold will last. Could be months, could be years, could be a decade. There's no way to know. No timeline for Alzheimer's. No predictable progression. Some people decline quickly. Others linger for years. Sarah could live for another 10 years in this state, or she could die tomorrow. There's no way to know. And that uncertainty is its own kind of torture. The not knowing, the waiting, the living in this suspended state where you can't move forward because they're still here, but you can't go back because who they were is gone. You're just stuck in the threshold, waiting for something you dread, because you know when it comes, it will hurt. It will break you all over again. But also something you need, because you can't heal until it's over. Can't grieve properly until there's something concrete to grieve. Can't move forward until this chapter closes. So you're stuck wanting it to be over while also dreading when it will be over. Wanting them to die while also desperately not wanting them to die. Needing closure while also never wanting this to end, because the end means really, finally, permanently losing them. It's a terrible place to be. This threshold, this in-between, this limbo, and there's no way out except through. You just have to wait and endure and keep showing up. Until morning comes. I visited Sarah yesterday, Thursday, my usual day. She was in bed this time. Not unusual. She sleeps more now than she used to. The staff says that's normal for this stage. The brain is using so much energy just trying to function, trying to make sense of a world it no longer understands, that there's not much left over for being awake. So she sleeps more and more. I sat in the chair next to her bed, took her hand. Her eyes were closed. I wasn't sure if she was asleep or just resting. But I talked to her anyway, like I always do. I told her about the weather, about our grandson's baseball game, about the birds in our backyard, the cardinal that's been coming to the feeder every morning, our backyard. I still say our, even though she hasn't been there in 3 years, even though she'll never be there again. It's still our backyard, our house, our life, even though I'm living it alone now. I told her I loved her, like I always do, and her hand squeezed mine, just a little, barely perceptible. Maybe a reflex, maybe nothing. Maybe her body just moved and it happened to be at that moment. But I'm choosing to believe it meant something, that somewhere, deep down, some part of her heard me, some part of her knows she's loved, some part of her feels less alone. I don't know if that's true. I have no way of knowing. But I'm choosing to believe it. Because I need to believe it. Because without that belief, I don't know how to keep going. So I believe. I choose to believe. That she knows. That she feels it. That my presence matters, even when she can't acknowledge it. That love matters even when it can't be reciprocated. That showing up matters even when it doesn't seem to make a difference. I believe all of that, not because I can prove it, not because I have evidence, but because I need to. Because faith, in this context, isn't about knowing. It's about choosing to believe anyway. Maybe that's faith in general. Not religious faith, though I have that too. But the faith that what we do matters. That love matters. That presence matters. That showing up for people, even when they don't know we're showing up, even when there's no visible result, even when it costs us everything. It matters. It has to matter. Because if it doesn't, then what's the point of any of this? What's the point of love if it only matters when it's easy? What's the point of vows if they only count when both people can keep them? What's the point of commitment if it ends when the other person can't reciprocate? It has to matter, all of it, the showing up, the being there, the keeping of promises, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's when it matters most. That's when love is most real, most true, most costly, most meaningful. Not the easy love of the good years, but the hard love of the impossible years. The love that costs everything. The love that gives nothing back. the love that just is, because that's what it does, because that's what it promised, because that's what it means. The night is over. Morning is here. And I'm still here too, still loving Sarah, still grieving Sarah, still holding space for someone who doesn't know there's space being held. And that's okay. That's enough. That's love. If you're listening to this because someone you love is slipping away, I want you to hear this. Really hear this. You're not doing it wrong. You're not failing them. You're not weak for finding this hard. You're not selfish for wanting it to be over. You're not a bad person for feeling relieved when you think about them dying. You're not uncaring for needing a break. You're human. And this is hard. Maybe the hardest thing you'll ever do. Loving someone who doesn't know you love them. Grieving someone who hasn't died. Holding on to someone who's already gone. Waiting for an end that might not come for years. Carrying this weight day after day after day with no end in sight. It's impossible. And you're doing it anyway. That's not weakness. That's strength. The kind of strength that doesn't look strong. The kind that's just endurance. Just showing up one more day. Just keeping going when everything in you wants to stop. Just putting one foot in front of the other even though you're exhausted and you don't know how much farther you can go. That's the strength you have. And it's enough. You're enough. Even on the days when you don't feel like it. Even on the days when you want to give up. Even on the days when you wonder what the point is. Even on the days when you sit in your car in the parking lot and cry before you can go in. Even on the days when you drive home and can't remember the drive because you were crying the whole time. Even on the days when you want to scream or break something or just run away and never come back, you're enough. And what you're doing matters, even when no one sees it. Even when there's no recognition. Even when it feels pointless. It matters. Because love matters, always. Even in the dark, especially in the dark. You're not alone in this. I'm here. Elizabeth is here, visiting her husband every day. Millions of others are here too, walking the same impossible road. We're all carrying this weight together. All showing up for people who don't know we're showing up. All loving people who can't love us back. All keeping promises that are killing us. All waiting for morning, and we're doing it. One day at a time, one visit at a time, one moment at a time. We're doing it, and that's enough. The lamp is off now. The room is full of daylight, natural light, the kind that doesn't need electricity, the kind that just comes every morning, reliable, faithful, without fail, morning light. And another night is over. Another night of sitting with this, of carrying this, of being with this impossible grief. And I made it through. We made it through, together. And tonight, when the darkness comes again, we'll make it through again. One night at a time, one visit at a time, one moment of love at a time, until there are no more moments. Until morning finally stays, until the long night finally ends, and then we'll finally rest. But we're not there yet, so we keep going. We keep loving, we keep showing up. Because that's what love does. It endures. It remains. It keeps burning. Even in the dark, especially in the dark, until it can't burn anymore, and then it rests. But until then, we burn. We love. We show up. We keep the promise. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.